Hello and welcome. Peace to the family. This is Comedic Minds. It is October the 29th, 2023. This is a blog post on the Comedic Minds blog. Make sure you check out some of the free tools and information. And that's on the left hand side of the page when you click the post. So today we're gonna discuss the hidden crime statistics of U.S. crime statistics, and are Black people really the face of crime? Because that's been a kind of a notion kind of put out there, and I think not to attack anybody or to create some type of controversy or anything, but I think it's important that we look at all of the data that's not included as well as the data included. So you know, and again, you have to also consider the environment that Black people have been living in historically and currently, and how that impacts someone's DNA and someone's experience and shared experience. And so this is the White Lives Matter Telegram page, and it mentions some of the key takeaways from the 2022 FBI crime data. And unfortunately, when you click the links, and here's just a few of these statistics: Blacks continue to commit the most violent crimes of any group, 43.2% of all violent crimes, despite being only 13% of the population. Whites are victims of more violent crime than any other group, 56.8% of all violent crime victims. This number continues to rise and is up almost 2% percentage points from 2021. Now, I want you to also understand that crimes against Black people are also up dramatically as well. But let's not even get into that. Let's go ahead and say, well, what links are these going to? What sites? Where can we find this data? Right? I clicked on some of the links, and this is where we can find the data. And 404 request not found. Now, that's what the link went to. I'm sure we can find the actual data. But anyways, so we're going down further here. There's a link to that page if you'd like to check that out. And what we're going to get into is, how often do researchers and news reporters discuss statistics without acknowledging the hidden crime statistics? In the case of many crime victims, intimidation tactics, silencing, threats, gang stalking prevent many of them from speaking out against injustice. I've talked to people, that have spoken about this. I've experienced it. I've experienced it firsthand. So the stories that go untold are hidden crime statistics that many do not acknowledge or even consider in most cases. Being more vocal than others and discussing the issues important to the Black community can get you watched by authorities. And nobody wants the extra smoke or to be canceled in corporations when looking for employment, so people don't talk about it, and they shut up about it. By not saying anything, we are not acknowledging, and we are all being actually complicit in the systemic racism and bias, intimidation tactics that Black people face on a day-to-day basis across the nation. So the topic of crime is no different when it comes to biased reporting and comments by people who have no clue what they're talking about. Many people create premises, many people create and present data without actually considering other important pieces of information. So the FBI crime data in 2019 shows that, if we're going to look at 2019, that the white race is the number one group of offenders. And that's their crime statistics, and I cited that from their source, and I have that at the bottom of this page where you can look at that information further. Now, the Marshall Project, and the reason why I looked at a third-party source was because third-party sources are not don't have any kind of bias. Most of them, don't have a bias, depending on where they're getting their funding from. But the Marshall Project is a nonprofit news organization that focuses on issues related to the criminal justice system in the United States. It was founded in 2014 by Neil Barsky, a former journalist and hedge fund manager, and named after Thurgood Marshall, the first American Supreme Court justice and a leading civil rights advocate. According to a report by Lee and Ricard 2023, more than 6,000 law enforcement agencies are missing from the FBI's national crime data last year, representing nearly 1/3 of the nation's 18,000 police agencies. So that's a significant amount of data that's missing. Okay. And that's from the Marshall Project. And that's a post entitled 4 Reasons Why We Should Worry About Missing Crime Data. Okay, so keep in mind, black people, yes, we're 13% of the population, but we represent a very large percentage of those that are missing and homeless. And those types of circumstances and environments can also create pressures or things that most people have no idea how that feels. When you're homeless and working and sleeping out of your car and attempting to, do, let's say, work in the gig economy, for example, that puts it puts you in a different people respond differently to those type of extreme circumstances. Okay, so let's visualize the hidden statistics. So just to visualize what was stated by the Marshall Project, the participation in the FBI's database, so a U.S. population representation in red, and the blue is the law enforcement agencies. Okay, so this represents the population in the United States and the agencies, and the missing data versus the law enforcement agencies. So, it's just a lot. It's a significant amount that's missing. Okay, here. Okay, so California and New York are also one of the two main states that are most populated states in America are not reporting federal crime data, which creates a large chasm of data missing. Keep in mind the following on the state of California. So Hispanics are arrested at rates sometimes are somewhat greater than their share of the population as a whole, while whites were arrested at somewhat lower rate. Proportionally, Asians were arrested at much lower rates compared to their proportion of California's population. That's from the CaliforniaCourts.gov. And this is a report entitled Disposition of Criminal Cases According to the Race. Okay, and I have that cited at the bottom. So keep in mind, in my references, I have that cited at the bottom. So keep in mind the following data on New York as it pertains to black crime. So notice how the number of murder victims matches the number of suspects. And that's what I found interesting here. So the victim is a black victim, 63.3%. Right, and this is out of New York's data. So we're most of the victims in New York. Okay, and the suspect is often black at 63.8% of the suspects. And then the arrestee is 57.8%. So that's more than half of us are also arrested and suspected, right, in New York. So, now, again, Hispanics representing the second highest victim rate, and then you have them at about 30% of the suspects, 35.5% of the arrestees, which is an interesting chart. Okay, now if you have a bias in reporting and you're also policing those communities more than other communities, you're also going to have a differential, right? You're going to have a differential between other races in that race. Period. It's going to be a difference, man. It's going to be a difference. So, considering these facts, we can get a more balanced view of the total crime data in the United States when we combine it with the FBI crime data, right? So granted, you must consider that black people are the primary targets and are policed more than any other race. We have to consider this. Okay, I'm not saying it negates the crime that black people do. Yes, we all have to look in the mirror and hold ourselves personally accountable. But to be honest, black people have always been held accountable. According to a Pew Research article in 2020, black adults are about 5 times as likely as whites to say that they've been unfairly stopped by the police because of their race, ethnicity, and etc. So 44% versus 9%, according to the same survey. Black men are especially likely to say this. 59% say that they've been unfairly stopped versus 31% of black women. Okay. And of course, we can't forget about Ronald Green, the terrible incident. Very hard to watch this video. But I deal with in the realm of reality. I don't deal in the realm of how I feel. I don't deal in the realm of what I feel, right? For me, I'm a clear cut and dry dude. It is or it isn't. It's a fact or it's not. And injustice is the motto. Unfortunately, it is a known fact that there are many cover-ups that have happened and they're not disclosed. Remember, it took them a very long time before they were out and open about this case. Okay, in terms of the body cam data and everything else. And they claim the brother had an accident, a car accident. So ultimately, there are several hidden factors to consider when referencing black on black crime and crime statistics in general. Just note that when someone is talking about black on black crime and how bad the city of Chicago can be, something they love to bring up, have them consider all the data from places that do not report the federal crime statistics. Black people represent a minority of the U.S. population, so anyone attempting to push a narrative without the full scope of the situation is not being genuine. So did you hear about the man that was found hung in Columbus, Mississippi? Anybody? Has anybody heard that? Think about it. Well, was he a victim of a crime? What race of people committed a crime against him if he was a victim of a crime? It's not to make an assumption, right? What about all the missing black people? Who's responsible for some of the missing black people, right? If we quantify that data, which I know it's in the hundreds of thousands, right? That would change all of the statistics now, wouldn't it? Then you understand now that you're starting to understand why I made this content and why it's so important to share this information. The police suspected suicide for this particular incident, but the final call is not conclusive at all for the Mississippi incident. There's no stranger to bad calls by police chiefs and specific organizations that the public has come to not trust. And we all know about this, unfortunate audio clip. This is what we know about. Okay. So how many missing black people are included in the crime statistics data? Is there a cover-up going on for our lost brothers and sisters? There are many variables to make the final call on crime data. And when we consider these things, the picture is not so crystal clear. Another factor is how many Illuminati agents, paid gang members, sleeper cells, are included in the crime statistics. Are these statistics ever reported? We need third-party, non-biased, independent reporting to hold our reporting sources accountable for the information presented. So if the so-called leaders are not being transparent about crime and cannot be trusted, how can we count on all the available statistics to be accurate when they're reported to the American public? These are incarceration statistics, and we can see the majority of black men are included in these statistics from 18 and up. Really, 18 through 34 represents the green and yellow pie on this chart. I created this pie chart which visualizes this data. And in terms of black women, the more recent statistics in 2021 show that female incarceration population stands over 6 times higher than in 1980, and that's from Manasm 2023. So that's a very troubling statistic. It's very high. And so, for those who are man-hating black women, just understand your hate doesn't matter in the system, in the religion of racism. It doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter because you're a target too. That's what that statistic tells me. So the system is part of the problem. Healthy families can also combat high incarceration rates, and so can reparations. So, of course, white supremacists often cite the FBI crime statistics from 0809 showing that black people commit over 56% of the violent crimes, but they fail to mention the states such as New York and California that do not report the crime data to the FBI. What race is responsible for the missing black people is the question that I pose. Suppose this data is not taken into consideration when discussing black people. In that case, those making the argument of black people being the face of crime are not giving everyone a balanced argument or premise. What if a specific community is tracked, watched, and policed more than anyone else? I believe there's a statistic out there that says that we are pulled over 22% more of the time than anyone else. So this is yet another example of how crime statistics can be skewed against melanated, aka black people. Okay, and most black Americans have the experience of being treated less fairly than anyone else. And that's from Pew Research Center in 2020. So with all these points in mind, let's not forget about the following. According to a report by Lee and Ricard, 2023, it's very important to remember more than 6,000 law enforcement agencies are missing from the FBI's national crime data last year, representing nearly 1/3 of the nation's 18,000 police agencies. So logically speaking, if 6,000 law enforcement agencies report at least 1,000 crimes yearly, that would equal 6 million per year on the low side. I mean, we multiply that times 5, we're looking at about 30 million. So, black population is 42 million. Not all black people are committing crimes. So that is too much data to state conclusively that black people are the face of crime. Conclusively. And that's my premise. We don't have enough data to say that conclusively. And if that is the case, something needs to be done positively to affect positive change, even if we want to say that those statistics are facts, family. We want to, even if you want to say that those statistics are facts, a systematic change has to be done to change systematic oppression. A positive change. And we know, unfortunately, when you get into these debates and arguments, and I've done it, when you get into debates and arguments with people, they'll use the deflection, like somebody wrote, what about the crime statistics of other race, or what about the wealth gap of, between black people and other races of people? Why you got to always talk about, basically why you talking about white people, what I'm saying? And, and again, deflecting issues and not addressing the issue is the issue. And reparations would say, okay, if we're systematically not wanted, if our people are systematically targeted, okay, well then, even if you're a bedwench, you know what I'm saying, or you divested, or you did something else, that's cool. But what I'm saying is you're still, when you get pulled over, you're still going to get that treatment. If you're in the wrong place at the right time, you're going to get that treatment. You're going to get that heat. Okay, so it ain't, that ain't going to make, we need systematic change to change this. And reparations is a massive start to the healing process to get this monkey off America's back as its biggest debt. We are America's biggest debt as foundational Black American descendants of slaves. We, as a foundation of the well-being of the OGs of this nation, we deserve to have that debt paid back to us, that of free labor and opportunities that were missed by the trillions. So in part 2, I'll be looking to fill some of the crime that's hidden. I'll try to find as many crime statistics as I can, but just looking at all the data that's missing, I don't even know if it's worth it to do it. We'll be coming back to you with some more reports down the road. The most important report soon enough, and that's going to be on reparations and paying homage to my ancestors. Y'all have a great night, great evening, great week. Be productive. Stay out of trouble. Watch out for a lot of shootings and things going on right now, so just watch out for that. And I'll be back for more.
Keep that in. I'm the man, all in high demand. I do what they can, you do what you can. I got hella plans, breaking rubber bands. We can't get along, and I overstay. Skilly steady popping like the for the dollars. I'm too focused on the commas, and you always with the drama. Always got a problem, but it's never an issue. Way too blessed and stressed, using money like tissue. Tears of joy, every night a celebration. Hey, go deck for my dedication. I just might obliterate 2021. 2020 pandemic still going dumb. My heart been through so much shit, that bed almost numb. Still I snap on every song, so I don't snap on anyone. Go so hard I break a thumb, broke a leg in their ass. Got my foot on the gas, right hand on that. I'm the man, all in high demand. I do what hella plans, breaking rubber bands. We can't get along.